The Supreme Court is allowing Indiana University to require students to get vaccinated against COVID-19. A group of 8 students sued the university.
Hello, today I present to you an extremely attractive application for music lovers. It's completely free. You can listen to music online or download unlimited music to use whenever you don't have internet. The powerful search function helps you find anything you want. Trust me. It's hard not to find what you're looking for because the search function is really powerful. Application download link is attached in the description of the video. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. Thanks.
University arguing the mandate violated their constitutional rights to, as they called it, bodily integrity, autonomy, and medical choice. Justice Amy Coney Barrett turned down the request without comment after the students conceded religious, ethical, and medical exemptions to the vaccine requirement virtually guaranteed anyone could get one. The Supreme Court also blocked part of New York State's pandemic eviction ban. At the request of landlords, the 6 conservative justices struck down a provision allowing renters to self-certify economic hardship due to the pandemic. Instead of applying to those who fill out a form, the eviction moratorium will cover tenants who provide evidence in court. The rest of the New York eviction freeze will remain intact. For more on this, I want to bring in CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson. Hi, Jessica. When you look at this impact of the New York eviction decision, how much harder is it to get court evidence versus self-testifying with a form?
Well, it's harder. I mean, it's the difference between checking a box and the difference between coming forward with evidence of your income, the number of people in your household, how far behind you are on your rent. So it doesn't mean necessarily that it's an insurmountable burden, but what we know is that for people who are really struggling, any additional burdens, for instance, gathering the paperwork, making sure that it's the correct paperwork that a court would accept, that can be a hurdle. And so what I understand is that New York doesn't yet know how many people would be affected by this particular change, particularly because if we take a step back, we know that there's a patchwork of eviction moratoriums in place right now. There's still the federal eviction moratorium, which as of, I think just an hour ago, a court said that can stand. There are other eviction moratoriums in New York. And so while Justice Brett Kavanaugh said, it looks like landlords now can start filing suits now to begin evictions, I think that actually it's a little bit more complex. The waters are muddier. And for people who are watching, yes, it will mean that they need to gather more paperwork, but likely not right now, again, because there's also that federal eviction moratorium in place.
What does this eviction moratorium ruling, though, signal about potential future cases, including the Biden administration's recent extension of an eviction freeze for areas with high risk of COVID transmission?
Yeah, it's such a good question. And I know that a lot of people have kind of said this morning, well, this is very bad news for the federal eviction moratorium. And it shows us where the Supreme Court is going because 6 members, the 6 conservative members of the court have said, well, that portion of New York's eviction moratorium, it's not permissible because, quote, no person should be their own judge. And when you check that box to say, I'm suffering an economic hardship, you're essentially judging for yourself that you should fall within the eviction moratorium. I do think, though, it's important, even though both of these issues deal with eviction moratoriums, the legal issues are very different. So when it comes to New York, again, it's that question of, does it violate the landlord's rights? Is it permissible to say to tenants, you really don't have to go through very much. Just check that box, say, I'm suffering an economic hardship as a result of COVID, and that's enough to stop landlords from filing suits, versus a very different question on the federal level, which is, does the CDC have the power to implement that eviction moratorium? Now, I think ultimately where this Supreme Court is going will probably be the same in all the cases, meaning I don't think that they're going to let these eviction moratoriums, particularly the broad ones, stand for very long. But very different legal issues. And I think we need to be careful about reading too much from one area into another.
Right. All right. So let's turn then over to the Indiana University Vaccine Action. As you know, there's a long history of legal theory when it comes to requiring vaccinations. Help us understand how we got here.
Yeah, well, we got here starting in 1905 when the Massachusetts state legislature said smallpox is a big problem and we are going to mandate vaccines. And it was actually, I think, just before 1905. And the Supreme Court in a 1905 decision, the Jackson decision, said that's okay, that there are serious health and safety concerns, and states within their police powers, meaning powers that allow them to protect their residents against problems dealing with health, safety, and welfare, that they can implement those vaccine requirements. That's that main case. It's more than 100 years old, but that's the primary case. Then in all of these vaccine mandate cases, the court has continued to rely on. So what happened is Indiana University was very much at the forefront of saying, do you want to attend school here? Here's the deal. Either you get vaccinated or you fall within one of the exemptions. There's a religious exemption and there's a medical exemption. As you said in the introduction, 8 students sued. They lost at the trial court level. They then lost again at the Court of Appeals. And now the Supreme Court, with Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who oversees that particular Court of Appeals area, didn't even refer it to the full court. She just summarily said, no, the Court of Appeals decision that this vaccine mandate can go forward, that stands. One important thing to note, who's writing these opinions upholding Indiana University's ability to impose a vaccine mandate? Judges who are appointed by Republican presidents. This is something where I do think we really need to see judges are not just politicians. They are at this point saying, let's follow that 1905 law, and regardless of who appointed them, saying that is the law of the land. And you have a lot of discretion as in a school or a workplace to implement these requirements.
They are following precedent, as many of them said they would during their appointment hearings. All right. Jessica Levinson, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you.